When you grow old, 7 ways to handle people who don't respect you. As we grow older, we gain a lifetime of experience, wisdom, and resilience. But let's face it, there will always be people who fail to show us the respect we've earned. Whether it's a dismissive attitude, an unkind remark, or being ignored altogether, disrespect can sting at any age. However, it's especially frustrating later in life when you'd think people would understand the value of respecting their elders. In this guide, I'll walk you through 7 ways to handle people who don't respect you. Strategies that are both empowering and effective. Whether you're dealing with a pushy relative, an impatient stranger, or even someone you thought was a friend, these tips will help you navigate those moments with grace and confidence. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. Embrace the silent stare. There's an undeniable power in silence, a quiet strength that speaks louder than words ever could. The silent stare isn't just a reaction, it's a statement, an act of unshakable self-respect that says, I see you, but your words don't define me. When you're faced with someone who interrupts, dismisses, or undermines you, the urge to respond can feel almost instinctual. We want to defend ourselves, to prove our worth, to remind them of the respect we've earned. But sometimes, the most effective thing you can do is to say absolutely nothing and let your gaze do the talking. When you hold a steady, calm stare, unflinching and unbothered, it changes the entire dynamic. In that moment, you're not just looking at them, you're confronting their behavior without uttering a single word. This isn't about intimidation, it's about presence. Your silence forces them to sit with their own actions, to feel the weight of what they've said or done. Most people who disrespect others aren't used to this kind of mirror being held up to them. They thrive on reactions, on anger, frustration, or defensiveness. But when you deny them that, when you simply meet their rudeness with quiet composure, they're left grappling with an unexpected truth. Their actions say far more about them than they ever will about you. I'll never forget the moment I truly understood the power of the silent stare. It was during a family dinner, the kind where conversations overlap and opinions are handed out freely, whether you've asked for them or not. A younger relative, brimming with self-importance, made a dismissive comment about something I shared, a story I was proud of, a memory that mattered to me. For a split second, I felt the sting of embarrassment, the instinct to argue back, to demand acknowledgement. But instead, I stopped. I set down my fork, met their eyes, and held their gaze. No anger, no frustration, just a steady, calm presence that said everything words could not. The room grew quiet. Their smirk faltered. And in that silence, something shifted. They realized they'd gone too far, that their words had landed in a space where they weren't welcome. I didn't have to say a thing. The respect I demanded wasn't verbal. It was intrinsic, rooted in the way I carried myself. The silent stare isn't about letting things slide or pretending something didn't hurt. It's about choosing where to place your energy. It's about standing firm in your dignity and showing, rather than telling, that you won't be moved by someone else's negativity. It's a way of reclaiming control, not just over the situation, but over your own emotions. In that stillness, you remind yourself that your worth doesn't depend on their opinion, and their words have no power unless you give it to them. The older we grow, the more we realize how precious our time and peace are. We've lived long enough to know that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every comment deserves a reply. The silent stare is a way of honoring that wisdom. It's not about winning an argument or proving a point. It's about showing up as your fullest self, strong, composed, and unapologetically unbothered. So the next time someone tries to belittle you or test your boundaries, resist the urge to explain or retaliate. Instead, take a deep breath, meet their gaze, and let the silence fill the space between you. You might be surprised by how much louder your silence speaks and how much more empowered you feel in its wake. 2. Embrace silence as your answer. Silence is often misunderstood. To some, it may seem passive or weak, a sign of giving up or backing down. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful responses you can offer, especially when someone disrespects you. It is not the absence of action. It is a deliberate choice to withhold your energy from a situation that doesn't deserve it. When someone throws a rude comment your way, they're often fishing for a reaction. Maybe they want to provoke you, make you feel small, or pull you into their negativity. By staying silent, you deny them that satisfaction. You let their words linger in the air, unacknowledged, until they lose their weight and fall flat. Silence forces them to sit with what they've said and, in many cases, leaves them more uncomfortable than any retort ever could. There's a beauty in allowing silence to speak for you. It says, I won't dignify this with a response. It tells the other person that their words don't hold enough value to disrupt your peace. And for yourself, it's a reminder of your own power, proof that you don't need to explain, defend, or engage to remain in control. I remember once standing in line at a pharmacy when a younger person behind me grew impatient. They muttered something under their breath, loud enough for me to hear. In years past, I might have turned around and snapped back, feeling the need to prove that I wasn't someone to be disrespected. But this time, I didn't react. I kept my gaze forward, shoulders squared, and allowed the silence to stretch. The space between their words and my non-response became heavy, awkward even, until they shuffled uncomfortably and stopped talking. In the end, I felt stronger, not because I had won anything, but because I had refused to give away my peace. When you choose silence, you are reclaiming your energy. You are deciding that not every word spoken to you requires a reply, and not every battle is worth fighting. This doesn't mean you're weak or afraid to stand up for yourself. On the contrary, it shows an inner strength, a calm assurance that you don't need to meet negativity on its level. By embracing silence, you protect your dignity, your peace, and your time. And those are treasures too precious to waste. 3. Stop explaining your choices. One of the most exhausting habits we can fall into is over-explaining ourselves. We feel the need to justify every decision as though our choices require the approval of others. But here's a truth that becomes clearer with age. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to live your life. When you decide to do something, whether it's as small as saying no to an invitation or as significant as making a life-changing decision, there will always be people who question you. They'll ask why, push for details, or even challenge your reasoning. Often their curiosity isn't genuine. Instead, it's a thinly veiled attempt to judge or undermine your confidence. And yet, the instinct to explain can feel automatic. We want people to understand, to see things from our perspective. But the reality is, their understanding isn't necessary for your choices to be valid. There's an incredible freedom that comes from letting go of this need to explain. It's the freedom to stand firm in your decisions, knowing that they are enough simply because they are yours. Whether someone agrees or not, whether they understand or not, doesn't matter. What matters is that you've made the choice that feels right for you. I learned this lesson the hard way when I decided to stop hosting large family gatherings. For years, I had felt the pressure to be the one who brought everyone together, even when it became physically and emotionally taxing. When I finally decided to step back, the questions came pouring in. But why? Don't you love having everyone together? What about tradition? At first, I tried to explain. I talked about how it had become too much, how I needed to prioritize my health and well-being. But no matter what I said, the questions kept coming. It felt like no explanation was good enough. Then one day, someone asked again, and instead of offering reasons, I simply said, because this is what works for me now. That was it. No further elaboration. The conversation ended quickly, and I walked away feeling lighter. It wasn't just the relief of not having to explain myself, it was the empowerment of knowing that I didn't have to. Your choices are your own. They don't need to be justified or packaged neatly for others to accept. By refusing to over explain, you reclaim your autonomy. You remind yourself and others that your life is not up for debate. And in doing so, you set a powerful boundary. I respect my own decisions enough to not seek approval for them. The next time someone questions your choices, resist the urge to explain. Offer a simple, confident answer like, because I want to, or it felt right for me. Then let the silence fill the space. You'll find that most people don't know how to respond to such certainty, and you'll feel a renewed sense of strength in standing by your decisions without apology. After all, at this stage in life, you've earned the right to live authentically, on your terms, without anyone else's permission. 4. Keep your distance. Sometimes, the most powerful way to handle people who don't respect you is not with words or actions, but with space. Creating distance isn't about being cold or shutting people out. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, and your well-being. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table, and it's perfectly okay to be selective about who gets access to your life. As we age, our time and energy become more precious. We've spent decades navigating relationships, learning what works and what doesn't. By now, it's clear that some people, no matter how long we've known them, simply drain us. Maybe it's the friend who always has a criticism ready. Maybe it's the family member who dismisses your opinions. Or perhaps it's the neighbor who constantly oversteps your boundaries. Whatever the case, there's no rule that says you must endure disrespect just to keep the peace. Distance doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't mean slamming doors or burning bridges. Sometimes it's as simple as stepping back quietly. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're not as available as you used to be. You're allowed to prioritize your happiness and health above someone else's feelings. After all, if they truly valued you, they wouldn't put you in a position where you feel disrespected in the first place. I remember a close friend from years ago who had a knack for making me feel small. At every opportunity, they'd find a way to critique my choices, my hobbies, or even my appearance. For a long time, I brushed it off, telling myself they didn't mean any harm, but every time we spent time together, I left feeling worse about myself. One day, I decided I'd had enough. I didn't confront them or make a grand announcement. I simply started limiting my time with them. I stopped answering every call. I politely declined a few invitations. And gradually, the weight they brought into my life lifted. Distance gave me clarity. It helped me see that my friend's behavior wasn't about me at all. It was a reflection of their own insecurities. But more importantly, it reminded me that I deserve relationships that uplift me, not tear me down. Keeping your distance isn't selfish, it's self respect in action. It's a way of telling yourself that your peace matters, that your life is too valuable to be spent on people who don't treat you with kindness. So if someone in your life consistently disrespects you, ask yourself, what am I gaining by staying close to them? If the answer is nothing, then it's time to take a step back. Distance can be liberating. It creates room for positivity, for relationships that nurture rather than drain. And most importantly, it reinforces that your well being comes first. 5. Hold your head high. There's a quiet power in walking through life with your head held high. It's not just about posture or confidence, it's about embodying your self worth in every step you take. When someone disrespects you, the temptation can be to shrink, to let their words or actions make you feel small. But holding your head high is a reminder to yourself and to others that you know exactly who you are and nothing they say or do can take that away. Disrespect often comes from people who want to undermine you, to make you question your value. They rely on their words or actions to chip away at your confidence. But when you stand tall, literally and figuratively, you send a message. You don't have the power to define me. It's not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about choosing not to let their negativity take root in your spirit. I'll never forget a moment years ago when someone made a cutting remark about my age. It was a casual conversation, but their tone carried that condescending edge, as if they thought my years made me irrelevant. In the past, I might have laughed it off or tried to prove them wrong, but this time, I simply straightened my shoulders, smiled, and continued on with the conversation as if their words hadn't touched me. That simple act of holding my head high, both literally and figuratively, shifted the energy. It was clear that their comment had failed to land, and they quickly moved on, unsettled by my calm confidence. The beauty of holding your head high is that it doesn't require words. It's not about arguing or proving your point. It's about embodying your self-worth so completely that others can't help but see it too. This kind of quiet strength can be disarming, especially for people who thrive on disrespect. They expect to see you falter, to doubt yourself. But when you remain steady, it throws them off balance. There's something magnetic about confidence. When you walk into a room with your head held high, people notice. It's not arrogant. It's a quiet assurance that says, I know who I am and I'm proud of it. And here's the best part. The more you practice this, the less other people's negativity will affect you. Over time, you'll find that the comments and actions that used to sting barely register anymore. This isn't just about dealing with disrespect. It's about how you carry yourself through life. Holding your head high is a daily act of self-respect. It's a way of reminding yourself that your worth isn't up for debate, that you deserve to take up space and be seen. And as you walk through the world with this quiet strength, you'll find that others begin to mirror the respect you show yourself. So the next time someone tries to make you feel small, resist the urge to stoop to their level. Instead, take a deep breath, lift your chin, and remind yourself, I am more than their words. I am enough. In that moment, you'll feel your power returning to you, not because of what you've said or done, but because of who you are. 6. Teach people how to treat you. Respect is not always given freely. Sometimes it must be taught. This isn't about demanding deference or forcing others to see your worth. It's about calmly and consistently showing people where your boundaries lie. Teaching others how to treat you is one of the most profound acts of self-respect you can practice. And it begins with how you carry yourself and what you're willing to tolerate. When someone disrespects you, it's tempting to brush it off or excuse their behavior. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they were having a bad day. And while compassion is important, it's equally important to recognize when someone's actions have crossed a line. By addressing that line, you send a clear message. This is how I expect to be treated. Teaching respect doesn't have to involve conflict. It can be as simple as using your words to assert your boundaries. For example, when someone interrupts you, instead of letting it slide, you can say calmly, please let me finish what I'm saying. When someone makes a thoughtless comment about your choices, you might respond, that's your opinion, but I'm happy with my decision. These are not confrontational statements. They are declarations of your worth spoken with calm authority. I once had a neighbor who constantly dropped by unannounced. While their visits were well-meaning, they often disrupted my plans and made me feel as though my time wasn't valued. At first, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to seem rude. But the more it happened, the more I realized that my silence was teaching them that their behavior was acceptable. So one day, when they knocked on my door, I gently but firmly said, I enjoy our chats, but I'd appreciate it if you could call ahead next time to make sure it's a good time for me. It was a small boundary, but it changed everything. They respected my request, and I felt more in control of my time. Teaching others how to treat you is an ongoing process. It requires patience, consistency, and the courage to speak up when something doesn't feel right. But the rewards are immense. You'll find that as you establish and uphold your boundaries, people begin to treat you with the respect you've demanded, not through force, but through the quiet strength of your example. The truth is, you set the standard for how others treat you. When you show respect for yourself, you give others a roadmap for how to interact with you. And when you refuse to accept disrespect, you send a powerful message. I value myself, and I expect you to do the same. 7. Remember, respect starts with you. At the heart of every interaction, every boundary set, and every moment of self-advocacy lies one undeniable truth. Respect starts with you. It's easy to point fingers at the people who failed to treat us with kindness or dignity, but the most transformative change begins not with them, but within ourselves. When you respect yourself, truly and unapologetically, it sets the tone for how others engage with you. Self-respect isn't just about demanding better from others. It's about treating yourself with the same care and regard you wish to receive. It's about honoring your needs, your feelings, and your worth. It's in the small choices you make every day. Saying no to things that drain you, prioritizing your health and happiness, and giving yourself permission to live authentically. I remember a time when I didn't fully understand this. I often found myself agreeing to things I didn't want to do, helping with tasks I didn't have the energy for, attending events I didn't enjoy, all because I didn't want to disappoint others. But each time I said yes when I wanted to say no, I was chipping away at my own self-respect. It wasn't until I started listening to my inner voice, the one that said, "You matter too," that things began to change. Respecting yourself can feel revolutionary, especially in a world that often asks us to put others first. But the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And the more you respect yourself, the less room there is for disrespect from others. People begin to mirror the way you carry yourself. If you treat yourself with care, they're more likely to do the same. And those who don't, they gradually fade away, unable to thrive in the presence of your unshakable self-worth. It's also important to remember that self-respect doesn't mean perfection. It's not about always having the right answers or never making mistakes. It's about treating yourself with compassion when you stumble and celebrating yourself when you succeed. It's about recognizing that your value isn't tied to what you do for others or how much you accomplish. It's inherent in who you are. When you remember that respect starts with you, everything else falls into place. The decisions you make become clearer, the relationships you maintain become healthier, and the negativity that once felt overwhelming begins to lose its grip. Because when you respect yourself, you create a foundation so strong that no outside force can shake it. So take a moment to look inward. Ask yourself, am I treating myself the way I want others to treat me? If the answer is no, start small. Make one decision today that honors your worth, and then another tomorrow. Over time, you'll find that the respect you give yourself is reflected back to you in ways you never imagined. Because at the end of the day, respect, true, lasting respect, always begins with you. Conclusion: walking through life with dignity and strength. As we journey through life, especially in our later years, the importance of respect takes on a deeper meaning. It's not just about how others treat us. It's about the relationship we cultivate with ourselves. Each interaction, each boundary we set, each moment we choose to protect our peace becomes a declaration of self-worth. Handling disrespect, particularly as we grow older, can feel like an uphill battle. The world moves fast, and sometimes it seems as if people forget the value of experience, wisdom, and the quiet strength that comes with age. But here's the truth. Your worth doesn't diminish because someone else fails to see it. It is as steady as the rising sun, rooted in the life you've lived, the lessons you've learned, and the resilience you've shown. The strategies we've explored aren't just tools for managing disrespect. They are a roadmap to honoring yourself. Whether it's embracing silence, setting boundaries, holding your head high, or teaching others how to treat you, each act is a step toward reclaiming your power. And with each step, you remind the world and yourself that you are deserving of kindness, dignity, and respect. But perhaps the most profound lesson is this: respect begins and ends with you. When you hold yourself in high regard, when you treat yourself with care and compassion, you create a ripple effect that touches every area of your life. You start to attract relationships that nourish you, opportunities that align with your values, and moments of peace that feel like home. The noise of disrespect fades, replaced by the quiet confidence of knowing your own worth. So, as you move forward, remember this: you are the steward of your own life. Your time, energy, and peace are treasures, and it is not selfish to guard them fiercely. Stand tall in your truth, speak calmly but firmly when necessary, and never doubt that you deserve to be treated with respect, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. At this stage of life, you've earned the right to live authentically, unapologetically, and with unwavering dignity. And as you do, you'll find that the respect you give to yourself becomes a guiding light, shaping the way others see and treat you. Walk through life with your head held high, secure in the knowledge that respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you embody. And that is a legacy no one can take away. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.